Hello, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're just getting started now. My name is Logan. I am the managing editor here at scholarshipscanada.com, part of the School Finder group. Bear with me, just trying to manage a couple of different things here. As we experiment with the new platform, we've run several different virtual events over the past 18 months or so, and we're constantly experimenting, trying out new things, new approaches. Hey, yeah, you should be able to hear and see me okay, I hope. Hey, is it going all right?
Yeah, it's
cool. Okay. Yeah, so we'll jump in. If you folks have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll try to get to them as we go. I may have to jump back and forth, but we'll do the best we can. Again, as a quick intro, my name is Logan Wright, managing editor here at scholarshipscanada.com, and we are talking today about finding and applying for scholarships. So if you joined the previous session with my boss, Chris, he walked you through schoolfinder.com and some approaches to finding the right school, the right program for you. We're now taking the sort of next step, presuming that you found the right school and program. How are you going to pay for the dang thing? So let's find out. Quick intro from me, Logan Wright, managing editor here at the School Finder group. A bit about me: after high school, I got an advanced technical diploma, very fancy, in film production from Niagara College. I worked as a video editor for years. But I always wanted to make my living with words. I've been a words person my whole life. And so I went back to school. I left my lucrative career, went back to school to U of T and got an honors BA in linguistics, writing, and rhetoric. So lots of experience, lots of editing experience, but talk about tuition fees, right? It's about 7 years of education. I think I squeezed it into about 6, but the fees, they keep coming. So I know a thing or two about paying for school, and I've learned, thing 3 and 4 from my time here at Scholarships Canada. So that's a bit about me. You may have seen this chart already. We'll cover it very quickly. The value of a post-secondary education. You're still on the fence of whether you should be going to college or uni. Get off the fence. You should go. In most cases, bachelor degree holders are going to make more money. This doesn't totally hold true. You can see men have a pretty strong advantage with apprenticeships. This is stuff like trades and plumbing and whatnot. Most careers, though, certainly the white collar kind, generally are looking for a bachelor's degree or even master's, right? Another level beyond. You can make $1 million more over the course of your career with a bachelor's, and that probably doubles again with a master's degree. So the more educated you are, the more you're going to be compensated, according to StatsCan anyway. But more than just money, Chris talked about this too. Grads are typically more engaged with community. You're not just building a career for yourself, you're building like character, personal character, right? Environmental habits, civic participation, being an active member of society is kind of what you learn at school. So harder to quantify that, but pretty valuable all the same. Okay, of course, big question. How are you going to pay for everything? These are a few of the sort of top line things students will consider. Savings and work, pretty classic. If you have savings, you don't want to raid them for school if you can help it. And if you don't have savings, you're not alone. A lot of people are working paycheck to paycheck, especially if you're sort of making minimum wage, trying to get a better education. It's hard to save up that coin, and it's harder still to spend it once you have it saved. Family and parents, sort of similar. If you're lucky enough to have family, parents who can support you financially, you're in better shape than most, frankly. Most people, maybe their family can kick in a few $100. If you're lucky, a lot of people don't get that opportunity at all. Loans is a big one. This is the road most students end up going down. I certainly did. Student loans, right, from the federal or provincial government. Repayment terms are pretty decent. Student loans in particular are decently forgiving, more so during COVID. But the key factor is still you have to pay it back, right? Any money that you get, minus a little bit of loan forgiveness, is going right back out again with interest. That's to say nothing of like a student line of credit, or worse yet, your credit card, where your interest rates are astronomical. You don't want to be putting your textbooks on your MasterCard. Let's put it that way. So final category here, of course, the big names, scholarships and bursaries. This is what we are here to discuss. The beauty of this category is it is free money, quote unquote. Nothing is really free, but you don't have to pay it back. That's the real key, right? The money comes to you, whether it's a scholarship, bursary, grant, what have you, contest prize. You still get to keep that coin. So you don't have to put it back out. It's an investment in you and your education and your future. So you want to prioritize scholarships and bursaries. Quick point of verbiage, scholarship on one side is a pretty umbrella term. We take it to mean more or less any money for students for school. In a more technical sense, a scholarship is something that comes from generally academic performance or like athletics, right? You hear about football scholarships in the States, versus a bursary. Bursaries are generally financial need related. So if your pockets are empty and your parents' pockets are also empty, chances are you may qualify for a bursary. It's more or less the same difference, but I just wanted to point that out. Okay, I'm going to take a quick second to check if there are any questions in the chat. Okay, and I'm glad that I did. People are not seeing slides. That's pretty troubling. I see that too. So let me just quickly see if I can fix that. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. If not, I'm sorry if you missed the previous slides. They're not all that attractive, right? You didn't miss too much. So I hope you now can see it. Linda, thank you for weighing in. I appreciate it. So it looks like we're all on board. So again, bear with us. This is new tech we're experimenting with. Right? Just heard that there was no deck. I have now fixed it. Thank you. Yes, thanks for bearing with us, folks. We will move on here. $1,000. It's actually, this is a little lower than average. The average award in our database, it sits around $2,500, but $1,000 is something on average. It's a lot of hours of minimum wage. Forgive my mental calculations are failing me, but $1,000 pretty common to see awards at that level or even above. So what can it cover? A year of textbooks for sure. Depending on your field of study, you may have like material fees, that kind of thing. Metro Pass. If this was not COVID time, this would be more important. For some students, it still really is. You could easily spend $1,000 on the TTC here in Toronto over the course of a year. It would cost you more than that for sure. A year of your phone bill too. Here in Canada, especially, we get a pretty raw deal on our bandwidth, our cell phone and internet access. So we end up paying quite a lot. You could easily spend $1,000 on your phone bill in a year. And your entertainment over the course of a semester, right? You're not going to do anything, or you're not just going to study, you're also going to party, go to the movies, eat out. So this kind of coin comes in handy. So some scholarship myths. These are some sort of 5 myths, like misconceptions that students often have, and we try to dispel them. Myth number 1, I don't have the marks. Most of the awards on Scholarships Canada actually don't ask about your academic average at all. So if you've got great marks, I mean, good for you, you'll be in good shape. But most awards they're not going to ask. They're interested in other things like community leadership and volunteering. We'll talk more about that a little later, but if you don't have stellar grades, no big deal. Myth 2, lots of competition. Yes and no, depends on the award. But as you can see, almost 2/3, right, of admins whom we have surveyed want more applications. So they're not getting as many people signing in as they would like to. And then a small handful, 3%, somewhere around there, get no applications at all, right? So you could literally be the sole applicant and win by default. the two sweetest words in the English language, default, right? So there is competition for some awards. For instance, the TD Scholarship for Community Leaders is running right now. They give out like 70 grand maybe over the course of a year, right? So when you're talking dozens of thousands of dollars, a lot of people are going to apply, but most awards don't get enough. Myth 3, only schools give out scholarships. You may not be under this impression, but if you are, disabuse yourself of it. Corporations, trade unions, religious organizations, right, nonprofits, lots of places give out awards, more and more too, we're finding. Companies are seeing it as a good way to sort of market themselves, to reach new audiences. So of our database, it's what, 1 in 8 or so come from outside of schools. And this is a big area of focus for us as well. When we're adding new awards to the database, we really focus on these non-educational admins, because for students like yourselves, they're tougher to find typically than something from the University of Calgary, for instance, where if you're going to Calgary, you're going to find out about it. But if you don't work for the duct tape people, then you're probably not going to know about their duct tape award. Cool. Myth 4. Scholarship deadlines only in the spring. Definitely not true. I just talked about TD. Theirs closes in November. How to save money closes in 10 days. Deadlines all over the year. This is good and bad. It takes some of the pressure off of scholarship season, right? Because there's no such thing. You don't have to feel like it's crunch time to apply or die. On the other hand, it means you've got to sort of spread out that apply or die energy throughout the calendar year. Meaning you've got to keep coming back to it, and we'll get to that. Final myth 5, not in financial need. I alluded to this already with scholarship versus bursary distinction, but specifically on scholarships, Canada, at least over a third of the awards, or only a third, sorry, require you to be in financial need. Most awards, 2/3 don't ask, don't care. It's more about, again, leadership or athletics or academics. So just to recap, generally, they're not based on marks often. There are awards for you. They come from places outside of just schools all year round. You don't need to be in financial need, but you do need to apply. That's where the true trick comes in, right? To paraphrase the gambling people, you can't win if you don't play. Risky philosophy, but it's definitely true in this case. So now that we've got our deck sorted, I'm going to quickly try to check the chat, see if there are any questions. So bear with me. Do you have a concise list of scholarships to apply for, i.e. based on medical situation, financial, etc., broken down by category? Good question, interesting question. We'll talk a little bit about that. And another question, when's the best time throughout your high school career to apply for scholarships? Another really good question that we're definitely going to talk about. And I'm just skimming here. I missed one from Kelly earlier. If a school is offering a scholarship you're not attending, is it appropriate to apply for that scholarship? So Kelly, I'm going to start yours right now from about 15 minutes ago. I hope you've hung in. Sorry for taking so long here to get to it. If a school is offering a scholarship, you're not attending that school, is it appropriate to apply for that scholarship? Easy question, no. Almost always, 100% of the time, really always. School is going to expect you to be enrolled with them. So if Calgary is offering a great nursing scholarship, but you're going to Waterloo, don't apply for the Calgary scholarship. You're not going to qualify. So I hope that makes sense and answers your question, Kelly. Next one from Ashley. Can we start applying for scholarships that are general before you pick your university? Yeah, sort of. Yes. In some cases, yes. Bear in mind, a lot of the time, even if you're not officially enrolled and it's not a scholarship from a school, they probably expect you to be enrolled anyway, or they're going to want to see proof of enrollment by the time you accept the award. There are some exceptions, but most cases, you're going to need to be officially enrolled in college, uni, whatever, to actually receive the award. So you can apply. In some cases, you may still win, but most of the time, you'll have to have landed on a school. So I hope that helps you, Ashley. Everyone skimming past the charts things, thanks so much for solving that. Okay, from Anonymous a few minutes ago. Any concise list of scholarships to apply for? Yes, stay tuned. We're going to get into that for sure. And what's the best time throughout high school to apply? Grade 12, pretty much, right? Grade 11, you're going to want to start focusing on building your resume, making sure you're in a position to do the best that you can. And then grade 12, when you start landing on the school and the program, that's when you're going to really start applying for scholarships too. So you want to start building your resume in grade 10, 11, and really start hammering those scholarships home in grade 12. So I hope that helps, Anonymous. And I'm going to jump back to our slides here. So we'll take some more questions, of course, as we go, but let's keep moving. Scholarship for you. True enough. Let's take a quick look at some of the sample listings. So this is what given scholarship on Scholarships Canada kind of looks like. You've got the name, the buttons, all the pertinent details. This one's from the Retail Council of Canada. Pretty cool award, actually. It's worth a few $1,000s. They offer 20 or several dozen anyway, depends on the year. You just need to be retail work experience, right? No financial need, any year of study, no academic average, college, university, whatever, right? You're going into zoology, you're going into anthropology, they don't care. If you've worked retail, if you've ever sold a shoe, you would qualify. Write a short essay, right? A couple hundred words about your experience in retail. And you could be taking home a couple $1,000s from these fine folks. So pretty great award there. I love that they offer that every year. This is something for students who are going abroad, right? Ulster University is looking to bring Canadians to them. It's renewable awards. If you receive it the first time and you continue to qualify in subsequent years, you keep your marks up, you're still doing well in school, they're going to keep giving you that money. Year 2, you just get it. Don't apply, nothing. It's renewable, it just comes to you. Fantastic. They offer 10 of these each year. It covers like your whole tuition. So the Edna Einseidel Study Abroad Award, another sort of a broad bit. This is from U Calgary for folks who are studying abroad. So if you attend Calgary, but you want to do a semester abroad, little study exchange, and you're doing communications, media, they're gonna help you out. So big question, we've alluded to this already. Where do you begin? So wherever you are in your sort of school career, you're still going to want to kind of consider these big points. First off, your field of study, right? So this kind of dovetails with what school you're going to as well. What are you studying and where, right? What level you're at really kind of matters. If you're studying engineering at the university level, you will be eligible for different awards, pretty broadly different awards than somebody who's studying engineering at the college level, right? A sort of 2 or 3 year degree versus a 4+ year. So what you're studying and what level you're at is going to matter. Your year of study too. Entrance awards are for folks who are coming more or less right out of high school, right? So if you're 17, 18, go right into first year after grade 12, you're going to qualify for entrance scholarships. Then as you move through the process, you'll qualify for awards in later years. A lot of schools will offer one batch of sort of entrance awards, first year awards, and then a whole other swath of second, third, fourth year. You'll occasionally too see awards for when you graduate, right? So you wouldn't be eligible until you're graduating. These are often like big achievement type of things. You're so amazing and you're going on to graduate, so here's a big prize type of deal. Activities, this is something we really see a lot of in the awards that are coming out these days. Here's a sample, but I really want to draw your attention to leadership, community involvement, volunteer experience. These should be 72-point font. Every scholarship on the planet, it feels like, is looking for some combo of these sort of 3 activities: leadership, community involvement, and volunteer experience. Now, the whip smart among you probably realize that a lot of these are folded into one another. You can demonstrate leadership in your volunteer position. That serves the community, right? Okay, what if I'm not the leader of my robotics club? Well, even if you're not the president, right, you can still demonstrate leadership in other capacities. Maybe you helped a fellow student like rearrange their schedule briefly so they could make a practice. Anytime that you're like engaging with others, you can probably sort of massage it into a leadership example. But really what they're looking for are people who are go-getters, if that makes sense. Volunteer experience, tough to get in COVID. We've heard this a lot. There are some online placements. More and more are becoming available as Canada opens up as well. So if you don't have any volunteer experience, regardless of where you are in your sort of school career, I would urge you to put a couple hours a week, even or a month, into some volunteering, because that'll really help your chances. Your academic average here, you know what that is. Other things to consider. Heritage, this is a big one too, certainly with equity-seeking groups in the current climate. We're talking Indigenous, Black, visible minority, people of color. So if that's you, your heritage could open you up to different awards. Certainly Indigenous is a big one we see a lot, but it goes all the way down the board. Affiliation too. Think about who you and your family are affiliated with. So for an example, growing up, my dad worked at Coca-Cola, which is a union workplace. So Coca-Cola themselves offered scholarships to employees' kids type of deal. And then the union also offered scholarships to employees' kids. So think about what religious groups, trade unions, the volunteer place that the old folks home you volunteer at or whatever. Think about these different things, and there may be a connection, a way for you to find a scholarship there. Personal circumstances is really going to depend, but we'll often see awards for single parents or folks who grew up in the foster child system. So if that's you, you've got a personal story that sort of stands out. That could fit in. LGBTQ as well is a big one we see these days. Financial need pertains to your income. Check with the admins if you're not sure you're in need. Rule of thumb, you're probably in need if you can't afford your whole tuition without breaking the bank, and who can. And then location, not only where you're going to school, but where you live too, right? We'll see awards from tiny little village in British Columbia. And if you grew up in that village or in the surrounding sort of area, you're eligible. And so few people did that they get maybe 1 or 2 applicants a year, right? So that could be you. So think about where you live and where you're going to school as well. Okay, so how do you sort all this stuff? Well, we try to make it easy with our big Get Matched button. And before we dive into getting matched, I'm going to quickly check the chat. Oh yeah, there's lots. Okay. Jason, if a scholarship requires a letter of reference, do we have to ask our teachers and references for a new letter each time we apply for a different scholarship? Great question, Jason. We will talk about this, but I'll address it quickly. Do you have to ask for a new letter each time? No. Short answer, no. We encourage you, in fact, to work with your referees to keep their letters vague enough that you can reuse them. You don't want to be like making edits per se, but if you can keep it broad enough that they can be reused, then that's great. We'll also sometimes see reference letters that are addressed for scholarship X and they're used for scholarship Y. In most cases, admins are cool with that. They don't really care. Is that going to be 100% of the time? Can't say that for sure. But if you've got to reuse something, most people understand that. That's okay. Okay. And Anonymous, how difficult is to get scholarships if you lack extracurriculars? Depends, right? If you are one of few people from tiny little place in BC, you might have better odds. If you have maybe no extracurriculars, but a really compelling sort of personal backstory or strong grades, there's stuff that you can do there. Maybe your hobby too would qualify, right? Maybe you don't play on a soccer team, but you run a D&D game. That's still sort of like extracurricular activity. So sort of think outside the box a little bit if you can. Hope that helps. Haley, how often does the list of available scholarships refresh on the website? Great question. So we try to get in once every couple of years for the stuff that is like school related. So if it's coming from U Waterloo, we try to get in there every couple of years. So it might be a little out of date. Stuff that comes from smaller companies, we try to get in there once a year at the least to keep it up to date. And then new awards come into the database. I would say a couple every day, maybe a handful each week. So new stuff every weekend, I would say, is pretty safe assumption. Whether you'll qualify for any of those, different question, of course, but we do try to keep it fresh. There's some older stuff on the site for sure, but there at the very least are links to get the newer version from those pages. So I hope that helps too. Okay, next question. I'm a current first year university. I won a scholarship just last year in grade 12. Congratulations, that's fantastic. Next time I'm gonna get you to deliver this presentation for me, and then I'll take a break, but that's great. Okay, next one. Anonymous, if you're enrolled in grade 12 right now and won a scholarship, when will the scholarship be given when you enter post-secondary? Yeah, so it depends on the award. We ran a program recently with a company that you could be 16 years old, not enrolled, and win the award, but they would hold it in trust for you, right? So when you enroll in university, they'll give you the award, but otherwise they're hanging on to it. Sometimes they'll just give you a check anyway. Typically disbursement takes a couple of months, right? It's generally several weeks, 4 to 8 weeks maybe, from winning to actually receiving coins. Sometimes it's longer. And sometimes they'll just send it directly to the school and you'll never see it. So it really depends. When you enter post-secondary is a good rule of thumb though. I hope that helps. Anonymous, where do we find scholarships based on medical conditions? Your best bet probably is just to use a keyword search. If you've got a particular condition like leukemia, you'll want to search that phrase. You may want to search misspellings too, just in case. And then you'll want to expand a little bit too. Forgive my ignorance on leukemia. I think it is like a blood cancer, right? So you may then want to start searching blood cancer type of thing, right? So I hope that is helpful as well. We've got one more question before we jump back into the main thrust. From Maya or Maya, how do you obtain the scholarship and can you use it to pay for any university expense, meal plan, tuition, etc.? Great question. Really depends though on the award and the admin. I would say the majority of the time, the award goes directly to the school and you probably won't really see it. So if that's the case, generally it's going to go to tuition first and then maybe roll over into books and stuff. We're seeing more awards these days are more willing to cut students a check effectively. So they may just mail you a check that you can deposit and use for whatever, right? A new stereo system if you need it. But generally the scholarship admin will expect that you're going to use it for university. If you spend it on a meal plan, that's generally going to be fine, right? So if you get the coin directly, then you can spend it how you like. You should be responsible, of course. And in most cases, they're going to send it directly to the school, so it won't really matter. Yeah, I hope that helps. Okay, couple more questions, and then we'll jump back into the main thrust. Beauty. So, from our friend Musfikir, sorry if I've mispronounced your name, how would you expand searches? Yeah, so this is sort of thinking outside the box keyword-wise, not only for things that may apply to you, but ways to phrase questions, right? I alluded to the leukemia versus blood cancer type of thing. You may want to search like medical condition as well, right? Start just thinking around your main subject. Can you only win one scholarship? Nope. Most of the time you can win as many awards as you wish. Yeah. So yeah, that should be fine. Cindy, if there is leftover money, will the company take back that money? I've never heard of that. You probably won't have any money left over. I don't suspect you will, and they wouldn't, I mean, it's yours, right? So chances are I wouldn't worry about that too much, Cindy. One more question from Anonymous. There's a program called Grant Me where they match students to the scholarships, but in order to be accepted, you have to pay $1,000. Do you think the fees and program is worth it? This is becoming a popular question, so thanks for raising it, Anonymous. I've heard about Grant Me. Some students say it was worth it and it really worked for them. Other students find that it's not worth it. So really tough to say. I mean, I will not stand here and tell you to spend $1,000. I wouldn't do that personally. That's just me. Yeah, I don't have a ton of information on GrantMe. I'm a bit skeptical personally. We don't have an official company line on this or anything. From what I've seen, I'd be a bit hesitant. Your mileage may vary. I would instead consider someone like Janet McDonald, who is like a scholarship coach, right? It may be a little more affordable and sort of better results too, but I don't really know. So I wish you the best of luck if you do go that route. Let us know. Okay, thanks for everybody's questions. We're doing really well here. I'm going to move through the rest of our presentation in 1 moment. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. So you've hit scholarshipscanada.com. You want to get matched, right? You don't want to be thinking about leukemia versus blood cancer versus medical condition. You want, just give me the goods. Scholarshipscanada.com, you're going to create your profile. It's like setting up social media. We've all built our Instas. You fill out a couple of fields with some details. And before you know it, you get your matching scholarships. So when you're filling out your profile, you can go very narrow if you know exactly what you're studying. Cell biology, only cell biology. I know what I'm studying. Okay, you're going to get more restricted results versus if you searched just biology, right? It's a broader category. You're going to get more results, but they may be less narrowly targeted. Something to consider. You want to kind of play around with your profile too to see what happens to your matches. But we can see them on the side here. Before you get to them, though, you'll be asked about your subscriptions. There's a whole bunch of good stuff in there, the newsletter that we build every week. But really the key one that you're going to care about is scholarship deadline alerts. So you can kind of see it back here. Deadline alert is a monthly email that's going to come directly to you that tells you about awards that match you that are closing soon. So if a scholarship is soon to close and it fits you somehow, it'll send you an email and say, hey, it's going to close soon, don't forget. And that's it. If nothing matches you, you don't get an email. Simple as pie. It only comes about once a month. So yeah, pretty painless. We recommend these deadline alerts, whether you go newsletter or what. Though the news is good too, different awards and stuff in there as well. So matching scholarships. This is where the goods are. As you can see here, we've got 43. And they're all listed, right? School and field, these ones are pretty open. It's got the value and the deadlines there. You can check them off, which will save them to your profile. You can X them off, which gets rid of them. You can view the rest. Excuse me. And then you can also check general results, right? When you're searching for STEM, right, is a huge one. You'll get a ton of results. You can start then to filter them. We recommend field of study. If you're studying engineering, searching that is good, but other terms like leukemia will work here too. And then you can start to refine them based on some of these pull down lists. But here's some general advice. You got to get motivated. I alluded that there's no scholarship season, which means you have to put the time in consistently and throughout the year. So if you're treating this sort of like a part-time job, or rather like searching for a part-time job, you're on the right track. Finding a scholarship is a lot like finding a job. And if you've ever done the job hunt, you know it can be a soul-crushing experience. So you've got to put the time in and you've got to dedicate a few hours a week. A few hours a week, yeah, that's a lot for sure. But if you end up winning a couple of $1,000, it's going to be way more than if you were flipping burgers or waiting tables. Scholarships Canada, we mentioned the deadline alerts, really handy. Keeping your profile updated is good too, and sort of experimenting with different fields and different combos can be helpful as well. And then understanding the requirements. Each of the scholarship listings that we have has info for the award admin, so you can reach out, ask questions directly if you need to. Apply for the smaller awards. This is a really big one. We see students clamor for the TD award, right, because it's $70,000 or whatever, but ton of competition. versus awards for $500, $600 to whom 1 or 2 people may apply, you get way better odds, right? So don't neglect them. It's still better than working minimum wage trying to earn that money. Being prepared, this goes to a question we heard earlier. Should teachers have a custom reference letter for each award? Not really, but having that stuff ready and on hand is good to go. Always worth it. So having a resume that's generic enough, and don't give up, right? You're not necessarily going to win the first award. You probably didn't get the first job that you applied to either. If you did, kudos. But yeah, you gotta maintain your game face, I guess. Some boilerplate documents. So I mentioned this. A boilerplate is like a basic template, right? A sort of fully functioning personal statement that is not too, it's not tied to any award. Same with your resume and your references. So if you can keep these on hand and then customize them, certainly your resume and personal statement, customize them for a given award, you'll save yourself a bunch of time without having to write this stuff fresh each time. So definitely recommend get yourself some boilerplate documents going. How to do so? Well, check out the tips and FAQs section of Scholarships Canada. We've got some sample letters, reference letters, etc., personal essays and whatnot. Some of these are demoed there, so you can check them out to get some ideas on how to actually do this. Otherwise, next steps, you may want to check out our Instagram. It's nicely curated there. Lots of new awards and stuff go up, other sort of student interest stuff. School Finder, my boss Chris alluded to earlier. If you saw his presentation, you know all about School Finder. It is the sort of sister site to Scholarships Canada, focused on schools, programs, and careers. You'll find profiles, program details, everything you need to know about schools across Canada and to some degree around the world, and events as well. We have a bustling events page where you can find out open houses, study and go abroad, scholarship auditions, apparently. Yeah, lots of different stuff there. So next steps for your scholarship search. Are you in grade 11? Build your resume. Focus on volunteering, getting that leadership experience, sharpening your grades, right? Being able to tell your story, start developing that personal backstory. In grade 12, you're looking at applying for schools and awards. So as we discussed, finding the program in the school typically kind of comes first. You may juggle it with the scholarship, who's going to offer me the best place, right? But you'll sort of juggle those two. You're looking for entrance awards for first years, those just out of high school. From all the different places we talked about, organizations, trade unions, schools, companies, etc. If you're in college or uni, you want to get involved with like clubs and associations, as well as have a sit down with your financial aid office. They'll tell you all about awards for second years and above. And you also want to think about department nominated awards. Most schools will have, the English department award. And if you really rock in English, they may nominate you. So having good relationships with your teachers and TAs is valuable here too. So yeah, get involved, go to office hours. That should be up here too. Go to office hours, ask questions of your profs and TAs. If you take anything away from this presentation, please go to office hours. Okay. Thank you. We wish you, of course, the best of luck on your scholarship search. The rest of the fair, well, it's over today, right now. But you can visit us on social, whether you like Facebook because you're crazy, you like Twitter because you're crazy, or you like Instagram because you're crazy. You'll find us on all three of those. I'm going to quickly check the chat again to see if we can get a few more questions in before we break for the evening. So thanks for sticking around anyway, everybody. Let's quickly do some Q's and then some A's. What was her name? The scholarship coach, Janet McDonald. I will post that in the chat. If you Google her, I think it is mycampusgps.ca. You'll find her. She's great. Are there ways to filter entrance and admission scholarships on Scholarships Canada? Yes, we call it year of study. So if you set it to first year, second year, or whatever, it should be fine. How do you sign up for the newsletter? I looked on the site and didn't see it. Yes, you need to have a profile. So when you hit Scholarship Canada, you'll have to hit sign up. You'll fill out your details, and on the last page, that's where it's going to ask you about the newsletter. Currently, there's no real way to send it to those who are not on the list. Maybe that makes sense. Best way to get references. We talk about this in the FAQ section. I would encourage you to check it out. There's more detail. The best way, though, is people that you know who are not related to you. People you know in like a professional capacity. Teachers, coaches, religious leaders. If they've known you a year or 2 years, like that's better than somebody who's known you 6 months. Yeah. Do we use the account we were given for this session for our profile on Scholarships Canada or make a new one? New one. This portal, not really related. When you hit Scholarships Canada, you'll set it all up there. Okay. I think that might be it for questions, I'm pleased to say. If anybody has any more, we're pretty much at time, but we can squeeze one in. Otherwise, I do thank you a ton for taking the time out. I hope it's been helpful. Check out scholarshipscanada.com. You'll find a lot of advice and listings there. Otherwise, yeah, start Googling. Thanks again for your time, everybody. I've been Logan Wright, managing editor, scholarshipscanada.com. Best of luck. Go out there, hit us on social, win some awards, and let us know how you did. Have a great evening.